Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing absolutely well. So guys, in this video we are going to discuss about 5 essential CSS interview questions. Now these questions are not only important from your interview perspective, but also it will be helpful in your daily or day-to-day CSS coding, right? So let's start. But before starting, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to my channel as I regularly upload these kinds of coding related videos on my channel. Let's start with our first question. So the first question is related to the box model. I know many of you already know what is a box model is, but let's try to look at all these 5 questions. I am very sure that you are going to learn something new from these questions. So the first question is, explain the CSS box model and the layout components that it consists of. Provide some usage example. So first of all, let's understand what is CSS box model. So the box model is a rectangular layout paradigm for HTML elements that consist of the following, and in that first one, that is the innermost, is the content of the box where text and images appear. So this part where 794x 160 is given, this is your content part. Okay, then above the content comes the padding, a transparent area surrounding the content. Example, the amount of space between the border and the content. So you can see this is the space between the border and the content. So padding is the space between the border and the content. Next that we have is border, a border surrounding the padding and content. Okay, so border surrounds what? Border surrounds the padding. So you can see this is the border. Last is the margin, a transparent area surrounding the border, that is the amount of space between the border and the any neighboring element, which means that transparent area which surrounds the margin, that is which surrounds the border, is called as margin. So this is the margin, that is the outermost part. Okay, so this is majorly called as the CSS box model, and it is very helpful while we style our HTML code using CSS. Now let's see some usage of it. So each of these properties can be specified independently for each side of the element, that is top, right, bottom, left, or fewer values can be specified to apply to multiple sides. Let's see an example like how can we apply these properties. So we have taken an example of padding. Similarly we can take other things also like margin, border. Okay, so let's look at the padding one. So first of all, this is the shorthand for applying padding on all the 4 sides. When we mention the padding like this, 25 pixels, 50 pixels, 75 and 100, it means that we are mentioning in this way: top, right, bottom, left. If we have just one value, which means that this same padding will be applied on all the 4 sides, this value will be applied to top, right, bottom and left. This is this single value. Next one that we have, if we mention only 2 values, then the first value will be corresponding to top and bottom, and the second value will be corresponding to the right and left. And if we mention 3 values, then this first one will be the top, then second one will be the right and left, and the third one will be your bottom value. So let's move on now to the second question. So the second question is, explain what elements will match each of the following CSS selector. So we have this question, and there are 5 elements that are given to us. Now we have to check, we have to tell that which these elements will match which of the following CSS selectors. So let's see the answer for it. So first one is our div comma p. So this means that it will select all the div elements and all the p elements both. Okay, next one is div space p, which means that it will select all the p elements that are anywhere inside the div element. Third one is div and this arrow p. Okay, so this means that it will select all the p elements where the immediate parent is div element. Fourth one is div plus p. This will select all the p elements that are placed immediately after the div element. Then the last one is div and this tilde sign p, which means that it will select all the p elements that are anywhere preceded by a div element. So I hope now you have got an understanding of these selectors. Like these are very helpful when you select a particular element in CSS. So moving on to the third question now, explain the meaning of each of these CSS units for expressing length. So we have these different units, and many of the people don't know like different units. They only know pixel and some of the common ones. So let's understand them. First one is our cm, which stands for centimeters. Second one is em, which stands for elements. Now elements is relative to the font size of the element, that is it is related to the font size of the element. Example, 2em means 2 times the current font size. So if we mention the value as 2em, then it will be double the font size that we currently have. Next one is in stands for inches, mm stands for millimeters, pc stands for picas. Okay, so 1 pc equals to 12 pt, that is 1/6 of an inch. And then we have pt stands for points, and 1 pt is 1/72 of an inch. And then we have px, which is pixel, and pixel is 1/96 of an inch. Now you don't have to remember all these values, that how much is a pixel of an inch and how much is a point of an inch. You just need to know that these values exist, so that whenever you read a code, you should already be aware about it. Okay, moving on to the next one. So in CSS3, how would you select? So there might be different scenarios given to you, and you will be asked these kinds of questions in your interview, wherein the first question is every anchor element whose href attribute value begins with https. Now this is very helpful when you have to work with links or files. So suppose if you have a link and you have to check whether that link is a secured one, so you have to check whether that link is starting with an https, so you can use this property. Okay, so let's see how can you do this. So first is selects every anchor element whose href attributes begins with https. So what you will do, you will simply take an a, and then in the bracket you will mention href, and this upper arrow equals https. This means that it is checking whether the link is starting with https. Okay, now the second one is select every anchor element whose href attributes ends with .pdf. So similarly, if you have to check if anything ends with a specific value, then what you will do is you will make use of this $sign. So href $ equals .pdf, okay, in inverted quotes. Next is select every anchor element whose href attribute value contains the substring CSS. So if you have to check the substring, you just have to make use of star. So you have to remember these three signs, that is the upper arrow, the $, and the star. Upper is for checking the value begins with, $ is for the value ends with, and star is the value contains or the substring. Okay, now moving on the fifth question. How can you use media queries to create different styles for different devices and screen sizes? What are some of the best practices for designing for mobile devices? So basically this is a question about media queries. Now let us see first of all what is a media query. So media query allow you to create different styles for different devices and screen sizes. Best practice for designing for mobile device include using a responsive design that adapts to different screen sizes, optimizing images and other media for faster load times, and prioritizing content for a smaller screen. Here is an example of how to use media queries to change the background color based on the screen size. So in the below example you can see that if we have to apply a background color, okay, so in the default style what we do is we apply it on the body. Okay, so this means that it will be applied to all the screen sizes, that is for desktop, mobile, tablet, whatever be the screen size, it will be applied to all the screen sizes. But if we just want that special or a different color should be applied to only the mobile screens, then we can use media queries. So in this way you can mention the media query @media only screen and max width 600 pixels, and in the bracket you can mention the property. So now what will happen is this color, that is hash 6 times C, will only be applied to this mobile screen, which is the for which the value is max width 600 pixels, and for all the rest of the screens the background color that will be applied is F2 F2 F2. Okay, now this is a very helpful property of CSS because you have to write a code which is like responsive for all the devices, and you don't want that you should write different classes for all the different screen size, and it might be very tough to target that. So media queries are a very helpful property of CSS that you can use to make your CSS responsive. Okay, so with this we have come to an end of this video. Just in case if you have learned something new, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and you can check the playlist section of my channel. There are a lot of helpful videos over there. Thanks for watching the video.